Hi, Jeana Locke here. I'm a transformational life coach, and I've been talking about The Big Leap, the book, The Big Leap. When I spoke with you earlier about it, I talked a little bit about the beginning of it, why I was doing it, and then on chapter 1, a little bit about it. And in it, we looked at the fact that we have these temperature gauges that we can have, however how much we can have, and we have an upper limit, and we actually have availability of all of it. We don't let ourselves have all of it because we have some kind of an upper limit. And so there'll be this some kind of a part of it that's stuck. So we can get to this part right here, but this 100% up here, this blue section, we just can't get there. We don't want what it is keeping us from getting there. So we're going to talk a little bit today in chapter 2 about some of the things that keep us from getting on those last bits of our upper limits and what's stopping us. And in there, he talks about, Dr. Gay Hendricks does, he talks about our zones of genius, the zones of genius. The first one's called incompetence. Incompetence is when we don't do it very well. It's terrible. It's awful. No matter what we do, we don't do it well. If you are a person who wanted to play basketball, but you weren't coordinated and you just didn't play very well, that may have not been your zone of competence. You may have enjoyed watching it, but it may not have been playing it. It could have been whatever it is that you may have. It could be a physical thing, that could be a mental thing that there is. It just may not be your thing. If art was hard for you and you just didn't know how to do art and you just couldn't do it or whatever it was because you didn't feel something, there might have been an area that for you was the area of incompetence. The area of competence is when you can do it, but you wears you out. You're exhausted when you finish it. For me, the area of incompetence is like making the social media things that we have to do, the little graphics and stuff. I can do them. I do them actually probably very, very well. I enjoyed actually doing them for a little while, but I'm worn out when I do them very long. And I don't get this big thrill inside of me from doing it. It's more of an efforting than it is anything else. And so as you stop and look at those, when you're doing them, that's what it is. It's called the zone of competence, but you're worn out when you've done it. The next one is called your zone of excellence. And zone of excellence is where a lot of us stay. We get there, we can do it, we do it all right, we're fine with it. It may not be the area that when we get finished, it's like, yeah, we've done it, but we just sort of get settled into it. The last one's your zone of genius. And your zone of genius is when you get there, you totally lose track of time. Everything falls into place for you. You feel complete when you do it. So for me, my zone of genius is when I pull together all the materials I've read and learned and gotten certified in and done all those things and connect all of the dots with Western science and with Eastern science. I connect both of those dots and make it into one. And I can turn around and use that when I'm teaching in a classroom, when I'm developing a program, when I'm working with a client on helping them overcome challenges, when I'm working with a group and helping them overcome. I can put the dots together and I can just see them coming in from whatever direction. It is my zone of genius. It wears out some other coaches or some other administrators or some teachers are worn out from putting together all the materials that it would take for everyone in that classroom or everyone in that program to get the greatest benefit. And for me, I am totally, completely fulfilled when I get to do it. And it fills every part of me. I have energy beyond energy. I have inspiration beyond inspiration. So my zone of genius, I do know, is when I am building things and putting things together and implementing them that make a difference in the lives of others. And it's connecting a lot of pieces of the puzzle and making a beautiful, beautiful puzzle. And it's my zone of genius. So as he talks about it, what is it that has kept you out of that upper limit section? What's kept you out of these? There are 4 barriers. And those 4 barriers are, the first one is you feel like a fraud. I am flawed. I don't know how to do it. Who in the heck did I think I was? Why am I doing that? And you just don't do it. I had a job. There was a time I had a job and I wasn't going to apply on it. I applied on it. I had an interview. It was a very high level job. It was like, oh, somebody felt like a fraud on it when they did it. So when there are times when we feel flawed, but we're not. I mean, we're not a fraud. We're there. We're fine. It's that we are okay, but we feel like we're not. And other people in our family may tell us we're not. Who do you think you are? A female going into a medical field or whatever it would have been? When I was young, it was been, as a female, when I was young, you were either a teacher or a nurse or a homemaker. That was about it. There was nothing else. There wasn't any other options to speak of open to the world because females hadn't broken those barriers yet. There were lots and lots and lots of upper limit barriers on females back when I was young. And so now you can stop and say that I have that flawed feeling because other people would say, you can't do that, of wherever it may be. The second one is feeling disloyal or abandoned. Disloyal or abandoned. It said, if I do that, I'll leave my family behind. If I leave that, I'll leave my best friends behind. This is huge on addictions. It's huge in areas of food addiction. It's huge in the area of alcoholism or drug addiction or something that we do that we are so addicted to it and we have to do it. But we have this group around us that supports us to do it, that keeps us there. They keep us eating a lot of food. They keep us smoking a lot of cigarettes. They keep us taking those medications or illegal drugs that keep us in a bad place. They keep us in a place of where we stay dependent. They were told, oh yeah, he's just a terrible husband. You have to stay. But what would you do? What could you do? They keep you in that deal. And if you do something and you become disloyal, you will abandon them or they will abandon you. And you don't feel like you can do it. So you don't go to your upper limit. The third one is called betrayal and a burden. So you feel like that when I do this one, I'm going to become, I've done this, I've gotten in here, all of a sudden I'm going to be a burden on everybody else. Look how much effort, other stuff people are going to have to do. And I stop and look at it and I go, oh my gosh, what would my spouse have to do? Or what would my family have to do? Or what would my friends have to do? If I get to this upper limit, I'll become, this success is going to be a burden on everyone else. And what's going to happen with it? What would actually happen? It's those people who actually win the lottery and then they lose all the money because it becomes a burden almost because they don't know what to do because they have to give it away or they have to spend it on frivolous things because they don't know how to handle the success of it. And so they have this whole situation where they're a burden and the success becomes a burden. So they can't let it ever get that high again and they can't ever let it go there. The last one is called outshining. Outshining is huge. It was my biggest one. It was my biggest challenge to overcome. And it was, I grew up in a family where I had a mother who constantly reminded me and a father who reminded me of how perfect my older sister was. And an older sister, and I grew up in a Native American family. She looked Native American, a beautiful Native American. She had the body style of a Native American and everything about her. And my older sister was the first female grandchild. She was the perfect grandchild. She was the perfect daughter. She was the perfect. My father and mother always reminded me of how perfect my sister was. She always had to have the best grade. She always had to be the best. There are so many pictures of my sister compared to where there were of me. And it was really interesting for me because that was where I could never outshine her. In their eyes, I couldn't have done it. In anyone else's eyes, I couldn't have done it. I was always trying to live up to those standards by the teachers in the school, by everyone around because she was so perfect. And I will acknowledge my sister's awesome. And she didn't have any concept of this occurring. It wasn't something she intended. She didn't purposefully do it, but it was always there. And everybody else put her on that pedestal and they kept her there. And I put her up there for a long time. And it was, it was really interesting when I graduated from high school. I had almost a 4.0, but not quite. But I was all but that, but I was still below. If that makes any sense. It was like a 3.91 or something, but no, she had 4.0. And it was when we went to college and which was a big deal because our family had never even had high school graduates besides college graduates. And we went to college and I did extremely well in college, graduated in 3 years, was very high up in everything in my class, but only had a 3.75 grade point average. And, my parents didn't even attend graduation when I graduated from college because my older sister had been so much more, had been so much better. So that outshining thing had lasted for years and I had to really overcome it. It didn't really hit me of how much of a big deal it was till about a year ago. And my cousin came to visit and my cousin came in and said how we were just the two of us, no one else, nobody else in the family. And the two of us are sitting there. And she says, my dad used to just love it when he would get to be with you because he said you were so photogenic. And he said you were so fun to do stuff with. And it was so great to do it. And he loved you. You were his favorite niece. And it was so interesting to me. I loved this uncle with all my heart. And as I looked at that and then I thought about it and every component of it, it dawned on me that I had never thought of myself as attractive. And I had never thought of myself as being anything near that. And the only pictures of me as a child, other than a couple that had done by a professional photographer like twice, the rest of them were all pictures that my uncle took of me. And they were the only ones of just me. There were a few pictures of my sisters and I, but my older sister had lots of pictures because she was so perfect. That's where the pictures all went. And it was really interesting that I had all these years and I really came home and worked on that whole thing of what are my upper limits and where am I stopping myself and comparing. And when I stopped and did that, it changed everything in my life. I looked at me differently, I handled things differently, and I addressed things differently. So as you get ready to go, there are 4 barriers: feeling fundamentally flawed, feeling like you're going to be disloyal. And if you're disloyal, you're going to get abandoned, feeling like you're a burden. And if you get all of this upper limit stuff and you make it, then all of a sudden you're a burden. And that last one is you're going to outshine somebody that you're not allowed to outshine, either in your head or in the head around people around you. And we're going to work on your head because I can't work on anybody around you. So we're going to continue going, and they're going to talk in some other chapters about ways to overcome these upper limits so you can get to 100% of who you're supposed to be. And as we do that, if you get stuck and you need some help, feel free to reach out. I'm a life coach and I'm here to help you get through those. And if not, we'll give a few more helpful hints in the rest of this book as I go through the chapters. I hope everything's going well today, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.